keep on sending your comments and your questions in. But right now, we need to start talking about Superstar Bill Dundee. 1975, he comes to this country from Australia, and him and a guy named George Barnes come over. And at first, Bill Dundee told me, he said, we came over, we had the kilts on, we had the whole thing, and they said, wait a minute, you're not from Scotland, you're from Australia. He said, no, I'm from Scotland. I was wrestling in Australia, but I'm from Scotland. He said, so we wear the kilts. And he said, no, we said you was Australians. He says, you got to be an Australian. You can't be a Scotsman. So he had to take the kilt off, and then he had to become. But the matches, Jack, have you ever seen a Bill Dundee George Barnes match?
I have.
Brought something completely different to that Memphis territory, don't y'all think?
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely they did.
The bumps they would take. Because, you think about it. Back then, they had Don and Al Green, great wrestlers, but they didn't take all these bumps. But, boy, they would take the bumps outside the ring. They'd take the bumps over the top rope. I mean, just tremendous stuff. And then George Barnes decides, I don't really like America. I want to go back to Australia or Scotland, wherever he was at. And he leaves Bill Dundee here. Miss Jarrett says, listen, Christine Jarrett says he's got to be a babyface. Bill didn't want to be one. He said, no, I don't want to be a babyface. I want to be a heel. But you know what? I think she had the right idea because Bill had that look. Don't y'all agree?
Yes.
Yeah.
He did.
Probably he's probably a better looking than what they had there at the time. And it was a smart idea. They turn him, and he has the feud with Jerry Lawler. His first feud with Jerry Lawler almost sells out that Mid-South Coliseum. I would say 8 times. 8 times they shave his wife's hair. They shave, and this whole thing go back and forth. They're shaving each other's hair, and they're shaving some other guys. I can't remember. Do y'all remember the guy they shaved his hair too? He was like just some local guy in Memphis.
I don't remember his name, but I remember what you're talking about.
Maybe somebody will remember his name. I can't remember his name off, but they shaved his head. Memories of Bill Dundee, Jack. Do you have any just something that just stands out?
Oh well, I had personal stuff with Bill that I loved. I always loved watching Bill wrestle. I remember when he took over as booker for Continental, and I had been there for several months, and your dad came to me and he said, well, Bill's new booker. You got to go in there and talk to him, make sure he wants to keep you on. So I go in and I knock on the door, and he motioned me to come on in the locker room, and he pointed to a chair right across from him, and he's writing in his book, the whole time that I'm coming in, and I sit down and I wait for him to get done, and he sets his book down on his bag. Well, while he's in the process of doing that, he had a pistol laying right on top, and he knocked it off, and it slid right up between my feet. And I looked down at the pistol, and I looked up at Bill, and he looked down at the pistol, and he looked up at me, and I said, Bill, are you shooting on me? and he picked his book back up, and he said, yeah, I'm going to make a spot for you. So, yeah. And I will add, I watched Jerry Lawler's interview with Stone Cold Steve Austin recently. It's on the WWE Network. Well worth the watch, by the way. And he asked him about Bill Dundee and, were they friends and stuff. And Jerry said, no, they never really were friends. That he didn't drink and party and stuff. And, Bill did. And he said, so we didn't associate outside of business. He said, but when it was time to do business, he said, we done great business together. He said, I always enjoyed being in there with him. But he said, outside the ring, no, we didn't have any kind of relationship. So,
Rodney, any?
First time I remember Bill Dundee is when Jarrett and Gulas split. And so Jarrett was playing his TV show at 11:30 on Channel 3. And, of course, Nick's was still on Channel 12. And then Georgia Championship Wrestling comes on later in the day. This was on Sunday, but they moved it to 1:30 on Saturday. Anyway, that was the first time we saw him. And the first time we saw him was the concession stand brawl with him, Lawler, and the Blonde Bombers. And it was awesome. It was awesome. And they actually came to Chattanooga, and with that match, I'm not sure how they did. They come on a Thursday night, and our grandmother loved Bill Dundee. That was one of our favorite wrestlers. And Bill was one of a kind. The charisma, nobody could duplicate. Bobby Fulton tried, but he didn't quite duplicate it. So, but yeah, she loved that little shimmy or whatever he called that he would do. He said, I like it. He's quite comical. Yeah, Bill's been is great, and his ability to get over what he wants comes. It looks like it's just natural. He has no trouble with it. He does it flawlessly, whether it's putting somebody over or opposite. He makes people look like $1 million, and that is a gift. That is a skill learned, and he's the best. He really is the best at it.
The first time we ever met Bill Dundee was 1983 when he did the Championship Wrestling Superstars of Championship Wrestling, the Georgia Championship Wrestling Superstars. And I remember sitting with Bill, and we learned a lot about booking during that time, about how the booking was. And he'd open his book up, and it'd be 12 weeks, and he'd have, all right, we're going to have it on this 12th week, we're going to have well, I think it was one of the whipping matches with Dutch Mantell and him. That was going to be the end. That was going to be the end of this. It was going to be a bull rope match, and a bull rope match. I think it was on the pole. It might have been just around the ring. Whoever fell off first.
They took the ropes down, and then pow, pow, and he was practicing with that whip. You can hear
that was going to be the end. And I can remember looking at his book, going, "Oh, man, this makes sense." And then you could look at all his books, and you see it always back how he's getting there, how he was going to get there. And I was thinking, learned a lot from Bill Dundee. As far as booking, learned so much from Bill Dundee. The same thing with Bob Armstrong. Learned a lot from him in booking processes, but there was nobody any smarter than Bill Dundee when it came to booking, especially a weekly territory. He knew what he was doing, and then his wrestling was so good. If one of the things that I remember more about Bill Dundee, because we never really saw the Jerry Lawler Bill Dundee matches until Bill Dundee was working in the territory in 1989, and he would bring his tapes and he would set them in, and we started watching these matches with Bill Dundee and Jerry Lawler. These matches wasn't 5-star matches; they were 10-star matches. That's how good these matches was between Bill Dundee and Jerry Lawler. They were connecting with each other. They were. I mean, it was just It really was some of the best matches if you've not seen it.
Bill said he was beating each other to death.
Yeah.
Just tremendous amount of matches, and Bill Dundee deserves the respect. He deserves to be. WWE should put him in the Hall of Fame. I don't know that he'd even do it, but he deserves to be there. Bill Dundee, one of the greatest wrestlers, greatest bookers this business has ever seen, and so he deserves to be there. I can't say anything that just Bill Dundee's a superb, and he is a superb man and a superb person.